Hey guys, today we are comparing the OM5 to its predecessor, the OM4. We'll do some tests comparing the differences, and you can decide if it's worth it. I purchased both these gimbals myself and have been using them for the past few weeks. Welcome back to Reviews for Life. First, let's compare what's inside the boxes. Both have the same items, but the OM4 has an extra magnetic sticker. This is used as an alternative to the magnetic clamp, but DJI recommends that you don't use it with a phone case. Personally, I do prefer using the magnetic clamp more, but it's a lot more aggressive on my phone case. The magnetic clamps can be interchanged between the two gimbals, and the same goes with the tripod legs. In both cases, everything fits nicely inside the pouches, so there's no difference here. Something that really caught my attention though is just how small the OM5 is. Folded up, it's roughly the same size as my phone and easily fits in my pocket. The OM4 is bigger, so this doesn't work as well. That said, there's two things that really stood out to me about the OM5's folded position. The first is that the pan motor can swing 180 degrees quite freely. To me, this doesn't feel very secure and feels like it's putting a lot of stress on the motors. The second thing is that in order to fold this up, you have to detach the magnetic clamp and then you can fold it. Now, this would have made sense if they kept the magnetic sticker, but for the OM5, they didn't. So I reached out to DJI and they said that the magnetic clamp can be stored inside the included carrying pouch. I mean, that is a solution, but it's not as convenient as the OM4. To me, this design feels like a step backwards. As for other features, the biggest one is perhaps the selfie stick. If you've done vlogging before, you'll greatly appreciate this. The top of the selfie stick does include a hinge, so you're able to bend it 90 degrees. It's quite stiff and you'll need two hands, so there's no worries about using a heavier phone. Other changes include the grip. It's narrower and the rubber texture is moved to the front where the fingers rest. This means you do have to change your grip a little, but it's still very comfortable to hold. Battery size is also reduced by over half, from 15 hours down to 6.5. The whole controls section has been changed quite a bit. They moved the power button off to the side, making landscape and portrait its own thing, and the zoom slider has also changed, but it doesn't affect performance. You still charge the gimbal through USB-C, but the phone charging port has been removed. One thing that isn't mentioned much is the joystick, and I'm quite surprised because it has been completely redesigned. In short, it's a lot better. First of all, they added this rubber ring around it, so it's easier to grip. But also, it can no longer spin. If you've seen my previous OM4 video, that was one of the biggest complaints I had. They also changed the joystick to be a four-way button instead of the slider. Functionally, this doesn't change anything, so nothing is lost here. I'm pointing this out because I actually use the joystick quite often, so these changes are greatly appreciated. Next, let's talk about the most important thing, stabilization. The OM4 is on the left and the OM5's on the right. I have disabled the in-camera stabilization, and this is with the selfie stick contracted. Side by side, the OM4 is smoother. Next, we'll extend the selfie stick. In this case, the selfie stick exaggerates the shakes more. And for this next section, I re-enabled camera stabilization with the OM4 on the left and the OM5 on the right. To me, they look identical and I didn't notice any jitters in the background. Let's compare it again with the selfie stick extended. This time, the camera's a bit further away, but we still get a very smooth footage. Something I have seen people talk a lot about is the poor range of motion. And I'll confirm it, it's worse than the OM4. For the tilt, you get about 90 degrees on the OM4 and 40 degrees on the OM5. For the pan, you get about 220 on the OM4 and 200 on the OM5. Now, that could be a deal breaker for some, but there are workarounds. Like if you needed the extra tilt, you can pull out the selfie stick and adjust it manually. So technically you get 40 more degrees than the OM4, but just like the phone clamp, this solution isn't very elegant. Personally, this reduced range does annoy me because it means I can't get as much freedom for my time-lapse shots. Once again, this is another step backwards. As for software, it's pretty much the same between the two, since they share the same app. All the features are still there, like video recording, panorama, and time-lapse. And my phone still has the same quirks, like no 60 FPS, no slow-mo, and no secondary cameras. To get everything perfectly level, you still have to go through the app for calibration and adjustments. Maybe the biggest difference is that the OM5 has 3 different follow speeds. That's right, you get slow, medium, and fast, while the OM4 only has slow and fast. If you're wondering, this just controls how smooth the footage looks from the gimbal. At the time of recording, DJI has removed the Mimo app from the Google Play Store, and you have to download it externally. Now on the OM5, DJI claims that they've upgraded the active track from 3 to 4. It improves responsiveness, recognition capabilities, and has a new automatic face tracking feature. During practical use, I couldn't tell much difference, and tracking performed roughly the same. But what separates the OM5 is that selfie stick. It raises up the phone so that you're no longer getting an image of up my nose, and instead something much more flattering. I think this particular piece of software on both gimbals is very mature, and as the saying goes, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Finally, let's look at the price. At the time of recording, the OM5 is going for 179 Canadian, and the OM4 is 149 Canadian. So is the extra $30 worth it? Well, let's summarize. The OM5 has a smaller form factor, which makes it easier to pocket and carry around. The joystick is completely redesigned and is much easier to use. Selfie stick is a useful feature, especially since it's built into the gimbal. As for disadvantages, the smaller size does mean the OM5 has a smaller battery. There's no magnetic sticker included in the accessories. Gimbal arm can swing well folded, so the gimbal is never fully locked. There's a smaller controllable range of motion, especially in the tilt axis. The phone clamp doesn't attach to the gimbal when folded. And finally, it's more expensive. With all these negatives, it seems like DJI has taken 1 step forward and 2 steps back. But to vloggers, this selfie stick can make those trade-offs worth it. Even fully extended, the gimbal's able to produce stable footage. For me, although I don't vlog, I find that I end up reaching for the OM5 more, because it's smaller and the selfie stick is fun to have. Alright, that's it. If you've enjoyed this, consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching. The magnetic clamp can also be interchanged between